Manfred, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you, Matthew. Pleasure being here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, for those that don't know you, can you give us a little bit of an introduction, a bit of background to yourself briefly?
So my name is Manfred Ruediger. I'm a biochemist by training, have a PhD, did my science work at the Max Planck for biophysical chemistry in Germany, then was teaching immunology and cell biology for another 5 years at a technical university before I decided to do something more real and move into industry, which for me was biotech from the start. So since 1998, I've been building companies with venture capital money, bringing them to the point where they were either acquired or going public, or where they had to wind down because the project didn't work out. So I've been enjoying this for a long, long time. I think it's a very rewarding thing to do. And I'm happy to be able to talk about that and what we do at the moment today.
As you said, that your career span is kind of 20 plus years really across oncology and of course other therapy areas in antibodies and cell therapy. We're talking today primarily about Oresium and radiopharmaceuticals. What sparked your interest in targeted radiopharmaceuticals as a modality, and how does it fit into your, I guess, overall approach to
Mhm.
addressing cancer?
So I've been working on oncology and inflammatory diseases for most of my career. And over the last years, I think oncology and inflammation have come very close together with the checkpoint blockers. And I got excited about radiopharmaceuticals before because these modalities and that approach is sort of combining the best of two worlds. I think for one, it is well established and proven that external beam radiation is highly efficacious for many tumors. So that's also why it is a standard of care.
Mhm.
And many patients are treated with external beams. However, you can't really do this if the patient has a lot of small metastases. It works for large tumors, and you always have to penetrate healthy tissue, which is part of the many side effects you see with external beam radiation. But it is efficacious and it works. And the second thing is what came together with it, the beauty and the efficiency of targeted therapies, which have been developed also with other modalities like monoclonal antibodies, which you give intravenously, which find the tumor and which will do their job, or today, antibody drug conjugates, which follow a similar paradigm, or other targeted approaches where you avoid hitting healthy tissue too hard. And radiopharmaceuticals are combining these two advantages. In targeted radiopharmaceuticals, you couple radioactivity to a targeting moiety, which can be a peptide, a small molecule. It could also be a larger biological in principle. And then you administer that again intravenously, but the targeting vector will find the tumor, spare healthy tissue, and do the job that it is supposed to do. And that conceptual simplicity and combining two established therapeutic approaches was what I got really fascinated about. And also, of course, it was timing wise a good moment with two drugs having been or just being approved in the space with Lutathera and Pluvicto from Novartis. So it was, I think, a good point in time to get involved with radiopharmaceuticals. In the broader picture of the treatment landscape in oncology, there's other arguments which speak to the radiopharmaceuticals. One is that they are highly synergistic also with chemotherapy, because many chemotherapies also result in cell death and make the cells more sensitive to radiation, although the risk for cumulative toxicities is also significant. And the second is the synergy with checkpoint blockers, which are known to work if there is an immune signal from the dying cancer cells. And when you destroy cancer cells with radiation, in many cases, it is called immunogenic cell death, and therefore it should be synergistic with the use of checkpoint blockers. So it opens new options for doctors and physicians to use new modalities in combination with approved modalities, and therefore just have a larger toolbox from which to choose when treating a patient with cancer. I thought this was super fascinating, and I still am very excited about it.
You spoke there about the timing of entering the field, and with so many biotech and pharma companies playing in the space, how is Oresium different?
I think firstly, we are not playing. We are doing highly stringent and professional development work. So I think that is already one key distinction to some other companies. I mean, for us, radiopharmaceuticals, although they are hot and some people say it's hyped, we are not on a gold rush, and we do not try to just repurpose some older technology or some older molecules to surf the wave. This is not what we do. I believe, and you can see it when you look at our website and at what we do, we have assembled a very strong team of radiopharmaceutical aficionados, like Guillermo Guerrica, who worked on Pluvicto and Lutathera as Chief Medical Officer at AAA Novartis, or like Greg Mullen, who has devoted his energy and creativity to radiopharmaceuticals already when it was considered an absolute niche thing. Or Manuel, who is a radiochemist and has developed manufacturing processes for radiopharmaceuticals for most of his professional life. Or Annika, who has been working on providing non-clinical evidence of efficacy for targeted therapies for long. So we're not up to surf the wave. We're combining expertise and experience to stratify and be efficient on the drug development part of radiopharmaceuticals. And this great team of individuals and their commitment and the commitment of our investors allows us to consciously decide and to consciously combine the best targeting modality, like a cyclic peptide or a small molecule or other modalities, with the best suited radioisotope for a specific purpose. So we are choosing from the available opportunities and tools to come up with the most efficient radiopharmaceutical drug. And we're definitely not playing in the field.
You highlighted the roster of colleagues and peers that you have at Oresium and how important it is to have the right expertise and the right experience as part of that team to really develop efficacious drugs and products. How do you go about building a team like the one that you have at Oresium, considering the demand for this highly specialized talent?
Yeah, that is very true. It's a rapidly growing field. There is not hundreds of thousands of people like in antibodies or in small molecules, which have been doing this for generations. So the talent pool for development of radiopharmaceutical is definitely limited. You're fully right on that. However, I believe in our case, the talents found Oresium. Due to our outstanding assets and the approaches. We have a best-in-class somatostatin receptor, which is a first-in-class antagonist. It's a mature asset. It was already ready for phase 3 in gastroenteropancreatic NETs, but too late to come to the market and to be commercially reasonable. So I think we're one of the few companies that is not working on so say on GapNets or on FAP or on PSMA, so little of a Me Too character or second or third to the market, but we're working on very aggressive cancers like small cell lung and MCC, and that sparkled interest of people which have been working in the space. So we were lucky in that regard. But I mean, there have been positions where we also needed specialist search firms to find the right individuals. And again, it is not so easy to find a search firm which is specifically strong and experienced in this space.
You spoke there about the the different approach that Elysium has, not just going after the same targets. But a lot of biotech in this space do seem to, not all, but there's a contingent of them that seem to lack a serious commitment to early drug discovery, to looking at new biology. This is evidenced, I think, in the lack of CSOs, but also then you look down into their teams, the lack of senior individuals that have got more classic early drug discovery biology expertise.
Yeah.
What do you put that down to? And do you think that there might be a shift, or there will need to be a shift towards focusing more on that as the field matures?
I agree that many companies are, as I said earlier, repurposing known molecules or targets, and that they are working on me too approaches or maybe me better approaches. But I don't think that the fact that there is no chief science officer should be taken as indicative for a lack of innovation. In my view, the objective of a biotech company is not to do fundamental research. It's more on reducing great science to practice. The job of the biotech companies is to find those innovations and to very closely collaborate with academic scientists and other early stage innovators. And the company's task, in my view, is to reduce that really to practice and develop a product out of it. That, in our field of radiopharmaceuticals, is not necessarily the classical profile of a chief science officer. It may be more an engineering task or a process development task. And therefore, I'm not so surprised that many companies don't have a classical chief science officer, but they still have a lot of innovation in reducing these academic and scientific findings to practice. I talked about combining the proper targeting moiety, and many companies are screening for such targeting moieties, or identifying from the literature potential targets that could be pursued and then screen against those. But this is more, it's not the classical fundamental science for which you would get the Nobel Prize. It's more what you would do if you have such a scientific data set and you want to turn it into a product. But not all companies are doing this. And I am with you, Matt, that more innovation would be good for the field, but I don't think there's a lack of innovation.
And just as we wrap up, Manfred, and reflecting on your career thus far, and what advice do you have to up-and-coming leaders, innovators in the field that inspire to also make an impact to the future of cancer treatment?
For me, and I think this should be holding up for others, follow the science, be data-driven. Also building a strong team of experts, but also of individuals, will help a lot, and you need to team up with investors, with experienced investors who really understand what you are doing and who will be willing to walk the long way with you. Another aspect which people sometimes maybe don't think about is, but you have to learn, you have to understand the needs of the patients, of the doctors, of the hospitals, and make sure that you keep that in mind to facilitate the adoption of your new drug developments, and to help that your approach in the end will make life easier and better for patients, for doctors, for hospitals, and also for society. Finally, maybe you should be prepared for failures and setbacks, because in my 25-year experience working on a better life for patients with cancer will not be a walk in the park.
Thank you, Manfred. Thank you very much.